Today, on this BMW X3, I'm replacing the oil filter housing and these two gaskets. From 2005 to 2016, almost every BMW had these installed. And almost every BMW with these gaskets ends up leaking oil. After watching today's video, first, you'll learn to tell if your car has these gaskets installed. Second, how to spot if they're leaking. And third, the best part. Because I'll go into so much detail. After watching this, you'll be able to install these gaskets yourself and fix the leak. Let's go take a look at the car. This is the oil filter housing and heat exchanger, right where my hand's blocking it. See this black round cap? That's the oil filter cap, called the filter cap, and the metal part below it. That's the filter housing. The housing and cap together form a shell that holds the cylindrical filter element inside. Can't see it right now. Can you picture it? So, I'm blocking the heat exchanger now. The irregular metal shape you still see is the filter housing. Now look at this rounded corner. Rectangular metal block next to it. This is the heat exchanger. Full name, engine coolant to oil. Heat exchanger. See all these parallel lines on the surface? See them? These lines reflect its internal structure. This heat exchanger's made of many thin metal plates, stacked and welded together. In between, it forms many thin, flat spaces. Here's how it works. Roughly speaking, engine coolant, what we call antifreeze, flows through layers 1, 3, 5, 7, and engine oil flows through layers 2, 4, 6, 8. This way, the two fluids never touch, but heat transfers between them efficiently. Now let me show you the oil leak on this engine. Look at my screen. This horizontal seam right in the middle, the one with oil residue. This is where the heat exchanger gasket sits. You can see this seam runs right along the heat exchanger. And then, let me tilt the camera to show you the front of the engine. A bit more. Now you can see this vertical seam in the middle of the screen. This is where the housing gasket seals. We'll take it all apart soon. Look at this. Oil leaking out. I've shown you a lot. Do you remember the shape of this housing? And the heat exchanger? Let me show you how common this design is. Over to the shop across the way. See, exactly the same? This car actually leaks even worse. Nice and bright over here. Identical. Now back to the X3. Can we start tearing it down now? Not yet, because the filter cap and housing are still full of oil. If I loosen the bolts now, oil will spill everywhere. So first we need to drain the oil back into the oil pan. It's simple. Just loosen the filter cap a bit. No need to remove it, just loosen it, enough for a gap to let air in. Once air gets in, the oil will drain down. Then, before we start, let's blast this area with compressed air. So once we open the oil lines, dirt doesn't get into the engine. Loosen until the seal starts to show. See, the big seal slowly appearing. Wiggle the cap a bit. You can already see a clear gap. That's enough. We'll leave it here. Let the oil drain out slowly. Same idea. We need to deal with the coolant in the housing and heat exchanger. About 2 liters need draining. We'll use regular water bottles. 4 bottles should do it. How do we drain the coolant? Here's my method. We disconnect this hose from the coolant reservoir. Once disconnected, we activate the engine's electric water pump. At that point, coolant will spray out of this hose. We'll catch it with a water bottle here. Fill 4 bottles. Alright, let's do this. Before disconnecting the hose, let's stuff a rag underneath. Pop out the retaining clip. Then fit the hose connector into the bottle. See, even though the bottle opening matches up with the fitting, once it's full of liquid, if I let go, it'll fall. So we need to secure the bottle well. Let's stuff a rag in. Then set the bottle on top of the rag. That'll keep it from falling. Still not quite stable. 1 more rag. Much steadier now. Good support. Catch bottle set up. Next step. Activate the electric water pump to drain the coolant out. Before activating the pump, let's hook up the external power supply. Now I'll activate the electric water pump. Step 1, turn the key to on. Step 2. Turn on the low beams. Step 3. Set the heater temp to max. Set the fan speed to minimum. Step 4. Press the gas pedal all the way down. Push through to the kickdown switch too. Hold for 10 seconds. Pumps activated. Water's all drained now. Let's reconnect this hose fitting. First, dip a finger in coolant and wet the connector. That way it won't scratch the seal inside. Hearing this click means it's seated properly. One thing to watch out for. This hose is hard plastic. A lot of cars have badly aged ones. One touch and it just cracks. So, be extra careful. Now let's unplug the 2 power cables. Then, remove this plastic cover, and we can start disassembly. This cover has 4 bolts. Look. 1 here. 2. 2 up front, 3. 4. This one's missing, lost at some point. Here's the tool for the first one. Second, this spot's a bit awkward. Last one. Now gently lift the panel up and shift it left. And it comes off. Why does it have to go left? Take a look here. See? This is a left-right sliding connector. And this one too. See it? Right here. So if you lift straight up, you'll break the cover. And earlier, remember, that missing bolt spot? Let me show you what happened. That bolt threads into this nut. I'll take the nut off to show you. You can see the threads are stripped. So when we reinstall, we'll swap this nut and add a bolt. Before we tear down more, let's snug this filter cap back to 25 Newton meters. Now let's remove the heat exchanger from the filter housing. We'll leave the housing for now. The heat exchanger is held on by 3 bolts. First one, second one down here, and one down there. I've got a mirror and light ready. Let me point them out. And this is it right here. You can see a hose in the middle of the frame. To fully remove it, we'd need to disconnect that hose. But I won't do that here. Later, we'll hang the whole heat exchanger with the hose attached off to the side. Why? Because this car's pretty old. And forcing this metal tube out of the hose could damage the rubber, shortening its life. So we'll leave it be. Once we remove it, both sides will be messy with fluid. So, have rags ready beforehand. Let's slide the rag from the coolant catch spot underneath here. This'll definitely leak fluid. Might as well plan ahead and stay prepared. Now let's undo the bolts using this socket. Good, this bolt's off. Just the tricky bottom right one left. And then, let's tackle the hard one first. Save the easy one for last. Don't do it the other way. If you leave the hard one for last, the part might drop when you finally get it. And that's a real headache. This one first. Third bolt. Use this hand to hold the heat exchanger steady, minimizing how much oil and coolant spill out. Heat exchangers off, set it aside. Now let's remove the filter housing. The housing has 3 bolts and 2 connectors. Let's unplug those first. One is the oil pressure sensor plug, and the other is this hose connector. Press the locking tab, pull it off, then push it back in place. Then, grip this hose with both hands. Twist. And pull firmly. Fluid's coming out. There it is. Quickly grab a clean plastic bag and plug it. Now the housing's held by just 3 bolts. Let me show you. First one is right where my hand is. Can you see it? It goes through like this. And the tail end pokes out a bit. Second one's in this gap. The one I'm lighting up. Third one is here. After loosening these 3, one issue is oil will still leak from the back, right where I've got my light. This space right here. I'll pull the light out and pack some rags in there. Catch what we can. For the first bolt, we use this small ratchet wrench. Fit it on the bolt head. Once it's on tight, use both hands. More stable this way. Apply force. The wrench won't fit back on now, because this type of ratchet needs a 60-degree swing to reset. But there's no room here for a 60-degree swing. So let's switch tools. This compact quick wrench instead. Look. Second bolt, using a longer tool. Last one. Take it out together with the bolt. Then use a clean plastic bag to plug the internal oil passage. This one. And this one too. Now, with a screwdriver, pry off the hardened old seal. Let's compare. Put the old and new gaskets together, side by side. Don't touch the new gasket with dirty hands. You can see the old one's deformed and gotten much thinner. Put on clean gloves. Then fit the new gasket into the groove. Once the new gasket's in, it sits noticeably higher than the metal surface. After long fluid exposure, the aluminum shows some corrosion. Can't fully clean it off. That's fine though, as long as it feels smooth and even. Before we reassemble, let's clean all the mating surfaces. Now we can install the housing and heat exchanger. Let's quickly get this reassembled. First bolt in place. Second bolt in place. Third bolt. Pinch it between your fingertips. Reach it through this gap. And guide it into the bolt hole. After a few turns, use that long tool from before to reach in and tighten it. Snug the front two down evenly too. Now let's torque these 3 bolts. There's a special case here. This inner one and the bottom one can't be reached with a torque wrench directly. Only this one can. Let's torque this one first, then I'll explain. Standard torque is 22 Newton meters. For the inner bolt, the spec's also 22 Newton meters, but since I'm using a universal joint, for the angle offset, there's torque loss. I tested this. When my torque wrench is set to 25 Newton meters, only 22 Newton meters actually reaches the socket. So for this bolt, I'll set the wrench to 25 Newton meters. Hope this tip helps. For the last bolt down here, the space is so tight, a torque wrench simply won't fit. So I'll use this small wrench with my muscle memory transfer method. Let me show you. First set the torque wrench to 22 Newton meters, then fit this small wrench onto the torque wrench, using the same grip, same motion. Repeat it a few times. This way my hand clearly remembers the feel. While that memory's fresh, tighten the bolt on the car. Now let's plug in the oil pressure sensor. Connect the hose. Dip your finger in coolant first. Now let's install the heat exchanger. Hand tighten the bolts. (16 Newton meters). Housing and heat exchanger installed. Let's clean up a bit. Getting that missing nut sorted. Cover on. Pay extra attention installing this cover. If these 2 connectors aren't seated right, look inside here. This is the outer one. Once both spots click in, the bolt slides easily into its hole. If the bolt never lines up, check whether these 2 connectors are seated. Go easy on these 4 bolts. Just snug, not tight. Remember earlier, before we started this, we drained a lot of coolant? Now we need to add it back. So can we just pop the cap and pour it in? Better not to. We should use a vacuum fill method. Only a vacuum fill guarantees all those winding, complex coolant passages inside the engine get fully filled. No air pockets. Let's move quickly through this. Open the coolant cap. Hook up the vacuum fill tool. Start pulling vacuum. As air is pulled from the engine, the rubber hose flattens. Once the gauge hits the green zone, vacuum's complete. Now open the coolant valve. The vacuum inside draws coolant from the jug into the engine. As coolant fills the engine, the flattened hose puffs back out. Coolant's filled. Let's activate the pump once more. To bleed the air out, key on, low beams on, heater temp to max, fan speed to minimum, gas pedal down, hold 10+ seconds. Coolant sorted. Now let's top off the oil. Fill to max, repairs complete. A test drive and it's ready to hand back. This spot won't leak for the next 100,000 kilometers. These repair videos are exhausting to make. A like, share, and follow would really help me out.